Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So we have 19 days left until Election Day and Donald Trump's odds keep surging. They surged 2.5% on Polymarket to a 24.1% lead in total. And why are his odds going up, at a very high rate in the past 24 hours? I think a lot of people know the answer, and that is because Kamala Harris once again with an embarrassing interview. This time, she faced a little bit of a tougher interview than she's usually used to. She got a lot of questions that were, I would say, fair, but they were also not like a cupcake level like we've seen from CNN, like we've seen from CBS, where they, are posting answers to the question. It's not even the answer that she gave. It's like, what's going on here? In terms of the Fox interview, Bret Baier, a lot of people were saying, is he going to do, a good job? Is he going to do the typical Fox thing where they'll be overly friendly? I thought he was perfectly fair. He asked questions, he backed up facts, and he kind of rebutted in a way that the liberal media would do to Donald Trump, but, I guess you would say a little bit more of a fairer way. And this happened on a lot of issues. It happened when it came down to the border bill lie that Harris is basically trying to say, well, Donald Trump stopped this bill and that's why the crisis is happening. It's like, no, you could go back to his policy via executive action. It wouldn't matter. And anyways, even if Donald Trump was solely responsible for that, he's not in office. How are you and your administration so weak that you allow someone that's not in office to dictate your policy? That's not how it works, but there's a lot of nuance to it. It didn't have Republican support because it was a weak bill. It couldn't even get Kyrsten Sinema's support. The only quote-unquote conservative senator that they keep clinging to is James Lankford, who's like a globalist. And, there were a lot of things in that bill like, the border wouldn't actually have any security measures going into effect until you had 10 million people crossing through a 4-year period on average. That's not a good bill, and it would not really solve the problem whatsoever. And the Border Patrol that they claim is Border Patrol heads, they're in favor of the bill. There was a very weak endorsement of it, and they said, they shouldn't be using that to attack Trump on political grounds. They, happen to obviously support Donald Trump for president. And we know that. And also H.R. 2 exists, which was an actual strong border bill. And Bret Baier didn't bring that up, but it's true. And that was passed by Republicans, all Republicans. Democrats didn't want to enact it. It could have been an accomplishment for Biden. He could have literally built the wall that Donald Trump wanted to build. That would be something to hold over Trump's head regardless. But he couldn't do that. They couldn't outflank him. Now they're trying to, and it's way too late, and it's not working. Anything the Democrats do, they're in a really tough position. And this is another very, very big, important moment. And we'll play this clip. And I wanted to kind of react to some of these moments here. We have several because it's so true. When it comes down to all of the things that are happening in our country, they're choosing to fail to understand who's the current president. And when it comes to these undecided voters that are not in Kamala's side, she's not doing anything to win them over. If anything, she's losing some of the softer support. She's putting the race right back where it was in June when Biden was running, except maybe she's gotten some more undecideds that Biden probably would have won anyways. But let's play this clip right here.
Frankly, exhausted of Bret.
More than 70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
you
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
Oh, that's brutal. And again, she's not answering the question. She's deflecting on the question to Donald Trump, quote unquote, not being in office and just having a voice and being out there. This does not turn the page, obviously, on Donald Trump. You're not going to be able to effectively do that. He's still going to be a large, influential voice in politics, regardless of what happens, which, again, I think a lot of people understand that. And he's kind of become that generic Republican. at this stage in the game because he's been a part of the party and the party brand for so long. And when it comes down to Donald Trump and his record versus Harris and her record, turning the page, I think Americans want to turn the page back to Donald Trump for 4 years. I really do. She's not exactly trying to do anything other than will this like Trump fatigue into existence. But if that's so real, why is Donald Trump polling so well? Why is he at his highest favorable rating ever in an election season? Why is he at like 45% favorable? Harris is kind of peaked. It's kind of starting to fall down a little bit. I don't even know how much of that's like all real in terms of the polling when they ask those questions. But either way, she's at like 47%. And when they ask about her job approval, it's like down there with Biden's. And that's kind of the way that these things are going. So in terms of that, Bret Baier actually did a very good job bringing this up when he said, if Trump is as bad, why is he leading the polls? We could play this clip.
Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk.
So are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is
God,
it?
I would never say that about the American people.
See, again, she's basically dodging the question. Oh, it's an election. That's not really the answer. It's not the answer. Just, oh, it's not supposed to be easy because, you know, Trump is leading in the polls because it's supposedly an election. Donald Trump has never polled this high. And you've been hitting him, not her necessarily specifically, but the left as a collective have been trying to bring him down. And some of the right, by the way, for 9 straight years. And he's stronger than he ever is. Part of that is because people are waking up to the media lies, and that's true. And part of it is just they see what's going on in the country, and they're not happy with the status quo. And Harris is not able to separate herself from Biden. You know, she was asked in this interview about the difference between her and Biden. Basically, she did the whole middle-class family routine, not verbatim, but she said, oh, I'm not Biden because I have different experiences. I have different life experiences than Biden has. Like, she doesn't mention policy. I don't think people care about your life experiences. They care about what are you going to do for them. And when it comes down to it, Harris and Biden, she probably won't even change a cabinet head. If we're going to be completely honest, she promises Republicans in the cabinet or whatever. Biden, you know, a lot of people were allegedly promised, like these people like John Kasich, they thought they would have more of a role in the Biden administration. They didn't get it. And a lot of them aren't endorsing Harris, except you have some new people with extreme cases of TDS like Liz Cheney, and that's not really an endorsement that you want to tout, to be honest, but it is what it is. But let's see if there's anything more in this clip.
Well, and in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American...
And again, like this finger wagging thing just doesn't work. It doesn't come across well, especially to a lot of these like male swing voters. You're not really trying to relate to them. And it's ironic because this kind of just demeans the people that like Donald Trump when you act like this and try to go out there and wag your finger about Trump and take his words blatantly out of context when he's clearly talking about the people that have been in our government, like in terms of the swamp. And that's what he's talking about when he says the enemy, because you have people that are in our government that are running our country into the ground. And it's true that we have adversaries abroad, enemies abroad, but there also are enemies here that do need to be dealt with in some form, drain the swamp. That's what he's getting at. Kamala Harris is trying to say, oh, he's talking about the average person. Like, no, absolutely not. And we have another clip here, and I wanted to play this. And it was such a disaster for her that they had to cut it short. And they were waving at like 4 staffers around Bret Baier. They were waving like, you got to stop this, you got to stop this, because they knew it was not good. If she was actually doing well, they would have had her keep going, because this was her, attempt to go out there and reach the Republican electorate on Fox News, try to peel off Trump voters. And I really feel as if she lost support from this interview. Usually that's very hard to do, lose support especially when you're being platformed, trying to gain support. But, there's people that might be open to voting for Harris because maybe they don't view Trump positively as a person, but when they see there's no policy difference and they don't like Biden, and they were already taking Trump over Biden, why would you take Harris over Trump? Because, the whole mental acuity thing that people will talk about, like, that's not really an issue that would cause people to go from like Biden to Trump, maybe Biden to like undecided, but a lot of those people would come back to Biden. Biden was not unpopular because of his mental deficiencies. He already kind of had that problem. He was unpopular because his policies are unpopular. And, everything else is just icing on the cake. It's just a show. And definitely, after the debate, you would think, because that's when he kind of got exposed and the liberal media started to talk about his mental deficiencies and cognitive decline, his approval rating kind of stabilized. It's low, but again, it really has more to do with the policy as for why those voters were moving away from Biden. And Harris is somebody that when she has proposed policy, she's either flip-flopped, stolen it from Trump, which does not really look all that solid, or she just can't give a straight answer whatsoever. And her policies are a continuation of Biden. The Democrats are putting themselves in a really bad situation here. It's absolutely brutal, but we'll play this.
This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
So we could skip the ad here, but listen to this.
Are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed.
See, here's the problem. She cannot answer a question. She clearly, obviously hasn't changed. She's like, oh, it's 5 years ago. Okay, but that is, you say follow the law, and that is the policy. You are the law. Your administration sets the laws, not Donald Trump. And by the way, Bret Baier did correct her on this and say that there were no inmates under Trump that got those surgeries. So either way, she supports that, and she's trying to pivot to Trump, and she just does not say no. She doesn't. She can't, because A, she does believe it, and it just proves how much of a flip-flopper she is. And it's a disaster for her. It really is. And you can't run a campaign where your answer to every question, every fair, tough question, is word salad plus Trump bad plus optional lie, because that's exactly what she did the entire interview. And it didn't work well for her. She got flustered, and she, ended things early. And they said it's an ambush. It's like you were 25 minutes late to an ambush. It's not an ambush. You wanted to do this. You knew it was going to be tough, and you trotted her out there anyways. And I'd be shocked if they don't just put her back in the basement, because this just does not work whatsoever. She had that effect going for her for a while, but, you don't have COVID as an excuse to not campaign. So you have to go out there and inspire voters, because you're not getting the mail-ins that Biden got at the same rate. And as a result, she's not going to get the votes at the same rate. So again, a horrendous interview for Kamala Harris. Those were just some of the highlights. You could watch it in full if you can stomach it. But it was hard to watch in part just because she does not have the mental acuity for the position. She's not cut out for this. And regardless of what anybody wants to say, oh, Trump this, Trump that, Trump has a record, and people like it more now than they liked it at the time. You could say it's nostalgia, you could say it's whatever, and as a result, people want to go back to that. You talk about the issues that matter to those undecided voters. It's the economy, it's immigration, it's inflation, it's jobs, abortion somewhere up there, but it's below those. And Harris's lead on that is not massive. You can't make this an abortion referendum when you're running against Donald Trump, who's not like this hardliner. And as a result, Donald Trump nationally, he's polling better than he's really ever polled this late in an election cycle. Not only that, you have to look at these statewide polls, because Trump has the lead in every single swing state. Even Morning Compost dropped a bunch of polls. I think they have Trump up in Wisconsin. He's up in Georgia and North Carolina as well, but they were not tied directly to Bloomberg for some reason. But he's definitely neck and neck, even in some of these most liberal pollsters. And we're honestly to a point where poll watching, it's important, But the early vote watching is also, coming into play, seeing if it confirms the polls, maybe there's an underestimation. And so far, it seems like Republicans are doing a very, very, very good job everywhere. There's not really a state you could point to and say, oh, this looks good for Democrats. And we can get into some of that later on. But this interview was a disaster for Kamala Harris. The betting markets show it. And I don't really know if this moves the needle, but you have 19 days to go. Trump has all the momentum. Harris has none of the momentum. A lot of panic setting in over at the Democrat headquarters. They're most likely the most panicked that they've been since Biden was still in the race. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle out.